Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
I want to talk a little bit about real estate before our guest today, who is
certainly from New York. You'd think God knows everybody was coming to the city to move in. Every street corner has new buildings going up. So that I'm sort of excited about that. It means the city's coming back.
Every night before bed and every morning when I wake up, I go on Street Easy and I just look at apartments.
Okay.
And I don't know what's wrong with me.
I think maybe you want to be a real estate agent. You might have to ask our guest for a job.
Honestly, maybe I will, because it is so addicting to look. And then you're looking and you're like, well, I could use another bathroom. And then you're at a $50,000 budget and you're like, oh shit, this isn't going to work. But it's such a fun thing, especially New York City real estate, where it's really hard to find a diamond in the rough.
And everything is online.
Yeah.
So, and you basically can do like you're saying, I mean, except for very exclusive buildings, I guess, you can certainly look and see, and you should educate yourself, especially if you're going into this market for the first time. And I hope that's what our speaker will talk to a little bit.
Also, if you're really interested in knowing your city, I feel like it gave me a really good knowledge of all the neighborhoods and all the streets.
Because it is a neighborhood city.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
You could say I lived on 72nd Street when I was first married. Actually 75th, and then I moved to 72nd. It was like, oh my gosh, I need a new market. I need a new cleaner. And when you then relocate to about 5 blocks away, the same thing starts again. So every little enclave has its own personality, and that's what makes New York so much fun.
How many places have you lived? Apartments?
I lived in only in my first apartment for a year, and then I got pregnant, so we moved to our second apartment on 72nd Street for 4.5 years, and then we moved to where I've been living now for over 50 years.
So crazy to stay in one place for that long.
It certainly is. Well, we're the longest tenant in the building.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Was there a point where you're like, we should have probably found a new place?
There was, but then it was. Our apartment has so appreciated over the 50 some odd years when we bought it for practically nothing, that we have to give it all to the government in taxes. So we're just going to live there, and then
is that how it works?
And then die, and then the children can have whatever it is.
Oh gosh, okay. I have lived in 3 apartments in New York City, but then also the ones in college and stuff.
Right.
So
that you can count.
Yeah.
I really only lived in a dorm in college, and from there I went from my mother's and father's home to my marital home. So it was a different time.
Yeah. I'm sure real estate, we should have asked him this, real estate is so different probably in that now single people live alone, whereas before it would have been you live with your parents and then you live.
No, this fellow we're going to have
young,
on the
that's
show,
true.
he's very young.
Yeah.
So you'd have to
well,
ask
whatever. I'm sure
else.
he knows about the history of real
Maybe.
estate. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy our conversation with Michael
Lorber.
And yes, he's at Douglas Elliman. He's the founder of the Michael Lorber Team.
And very charming, so I think you'll enjoy him.
All right, guys, we are joined by Michael Lorber. He is a broker at Douglas Elliman. He's the founder of the Michael Lorber Team. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for having me. This is the highlight of my week.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Oh, good. It's the highlight of our week, my week for sure, to see how.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so we start by asking all of our guests their age, relationship status, and where they live.
Okay. I am, thanks for having me. I'm 44. I am recently married to my husband, Jeffrey. We got married. We eloped technically last February at my dad's house in Miami Beach. We just had our immediate families, 12 of us. And because we got nervous, the whole thing, and then didn't tell anyone. And then the next day sent out a paperless post with a save the date for a party in April here at the Grill in New York City. So we got married in February and in April. And it's been wonderful.
So it's a very extended wedding celebration.
Exactly. And then we also went to City Hall to get the paperwork. So that was another official wedding day. So it's been 3 weddings somehow.
All right, that's good.
Where did you two meet?
Hamptons proposal last summer.
Oh.
Which was great. We met.
You've known him a long time then.
Well, we met, so we got set up during the pandemic.
Right.
We were introduced actually in February, but then the pandemic happened in March of that year, and I was living in the Hamptons, and he was, more in the city. So we didn't have our first date till August.
Okay.
And then I proposed about 2 years later in June.
Okay.
We were
Reasonable.
set up through a mutual friend, Billy Gilbane, who is a Palm Beach friend of mine. And yeah, we last June, was it? Yeah, we went out on my boat and pulled up to our favorite restaurant, Duria's in Orient Point.
Mhm.
You love that.
And as I dock the boat, which is always stressful, and then I get down on one knee and I propose to him with a beautiful watch. And then we go into the restaurant where I'm like, okay, we'll just have a nice lunch and then we'll call our parents. And then we walk into the restaurant and it's our whole family and 50
Aw.
friends and
That's what
had a
people
big
are
lunch
doing now.
celebration.
Yeah, it's like a whole
I said that to you. I've
It's
heard
a whole
that
production,
recently.
yeah.
Exactly.
production
yeah.
and surprise, and you have the photographer there.
Oh, I had the photographer, I had the videographer. My brother hired a plane to fly around with a big sign that said,
Oh,
congratulations,
my
Jeffrey
God.
and Michael.
So
Uh,
cute.
Everything's sort of like a flash mob. And then we were having a cocktail party at the house that night for 200 friends. We had a new house in Watermill, and that became a surprise engagement party. So I don't know how
Sounds
I kept
great.
it together.
Okay, no more parties for you. You're done
I know,
for
it's
like
exhausting.
for the next 5 years. Forget it.
No.
Till you
Well,
have a
coming out of the
baby.
pandemic, it's so nice having parties
that's true.
again, right? And seeing
That
everyone.
is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So except
So we live on the
Florida was
Upper East
always
Side.
open. Florida
Yeah.
was open for everybody. You could have all come down. We were partying. We didn't even know there was a pandemic.
yeah.
Exactly.
She's an
Oh.
Upper East Sider, but is in
Me
Palm
too.
Beach for
Well, I've been in
most
Palm
of
Beach
the
now
year.
for 6 months, so a year. So it's very different. It was very. I mean, the older people were very nervous, and everybody was
Right, of course.
checking themselves. But everybody was going out for dinner. Everybody was going in limited circles. They weren't doing 200,
Of course.
but what?
And
whatever.
outside.
Yeah. So, but now it's fine. All's back. I'm not even
Yeah.
going to take the shot anymore. I've decided I'm over
Me
vaccinated.
neither. I did a flu shot, but I'm not
Yeah,
doing
so did
the
I.
vaccine.
So did I. I did the
Yeah.
same thing. I'm over this thing. Unless
Enough
there's
already.
some terrible reason, I'm not going to do it.
Okay, let's start at the
That's-
very beginning. Michael, when were
Okay.
you first drawn to the industry of real estate?
Oh gosh. So I'm a real estate junkie. I always have been. Growing up, I hated sports. I kind of still do. And I would drag my dad to open houses on Sundays. And I loved
Love
it.
it.
Back then, you get the Sunday New York Times and,
Right.
you see all these houses. Now it's all, digital online. But back then, it was like a Sunday activity. My father really wasn't in real estate back then. And I grew up in Long Island. So, it was very suburban on the South Shore of Long Island. And we'd go to open houses and drag them. And then, we'd be in the Hamptons and, kind of break into construction sites. And I loved
Fun.
it.
Right.
It was such a fun thing. And it was bonding with my dad and I.
Right.
Right.
And then in college, I spent a couple summers working for one of the biggest developers who later became president. So that was super fun.
Okay.
And interesting.
Interesting.
But a long time ago, before there was a TV show,
Right.
before,
Right.
Yeah.
over,
For those who don't
20
know,
something years
it
ago.
rhymes with lump. No.
Yeah, exactly.
And he might be the next.
We don't know.
Next
Although
one as well.
in Palm Beach,
but all right.
it just creates more traffic headaches in Palm Beach.
Exactly.
But
That's true.
always interesting
Mhm.
and exciting. And back then, it was a lot of fun. He was building buildings back then. This was a different time. It was 25 years ago or so. And then in college, I bought my first apartment while I was still in college at one of his buildings. And actually, he kind of helped me renovate it, so to speak. And of course, though, the apartment was designed 20 years before that. And I wanted to gut it. And he picked out the same stuff. He's like, oh, this brown marble and this brown toilet. I'm like, yeah, kind of want to go like white marble now. So it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
your
then I
dad
went to
who
law school and grad school in New York. And I never really wanted to practice. And around that time, my dad had bought Douglas Elliman. And I kind of snuck into the company doing some stuff. Like I was a lawyer, so I was able to become a licensed real estate broker.
Mhm.
And I was allowed to, I started doing some stuff with the company. Then I worked for one broker, then another, started my team.
Wonderful.
So your
Fabulous.
dad basically owes you because you brought him into real estate by
That's correct.
asking to go to those open houses.
I'm going to bring that up at Thanksgiving. You're right.
You
He
can quote
owes
Kimberly.
me.
Say it.
Please don't say it's me.
No, he loved real estate, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like his other job. He has other companies that he's always
Right.
been involved in. He has hot dog company, which he always wanted me to run and take over, Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs.
Oh,
He had bought that company in 1987, but as much as it's an iconic New York brand and it's so exciting, it's not something I'm passionate about. I love the idea of it, but
but
I-
you don't love hot dogs.
he's like, oh, you should work at the company, take it over. I'm like, yeah, it's very interesting, thank you, but yeah, it's not what I want
Don't
to do
want to
with
be
my
like the
life.
wiener guy. That's not where
Yeah,
you see
exactly.
your
Your image.
So we
And now I
work with
schlep around the
family
city.
too, obviously. Like, what is your dynamic with your dad when it comes to work?
Yeah, I mean, we're super close, which is, it's funny because like now, we speak every day on the phone. He kind of lives in Miami more now. He's a resident down there. And in case New York's watching, but we talk so much on the phone. And it's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I'm working on this client, this, that, 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 that,
Right.
this closing, this deal. And it kind of takes away from our personal relationship.
Right.
Because we talk so much about business and he's not in New York City as much. So it's kind of become more professional. But I come from a very close family. My mother, my father, my brother, his wife, 2 kids. We all talk every day. We're
very
super
nice.
close. So it's really nice.
Yeah.
And we do too.
I
So
think that's so relatable for people who work with family. It's like it totally merges.
Because it's not a family business per se. And it's not like I have a salary or anything. I only make money if I sell real estate.
Right. What your team does.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Now,
I don't even get health insurance.
Oh, you don't? At a big company?
No, because
like
you're an independent.
You're all individual?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it's a complicated time. I have a group. I started the Michael Lorber Team because that's what you have to call it. I didn't want to call it that, but the Department of State in New York really makes you use your name because if there's a problem, they know how to find you.
Right.
And I have about, it ranges. I have 12, 14 brokers. I lost one broker on my team this week who's caught up in a Bravo controversy, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
We did see that.
That was in
with
the
a big Vanity Fair
morning.
article. And that was not my idea. I mean, the company makes their decisions. So that is what it is. And so there's always people joining and leaving a team.
Okay.
And it's like a little family I have. I have a business partner, Alexander, who's I've been working with for about 7, 8 years now. And we do a lot now in the Hamptons. And we're trying to do some stuff in South Florida because I am in Palm Beach a lot.
Well, that's what we were going to discuss because I have a curious question. Now, let's say we're talking about Kim's age group, late 20s, early 30s, people who are going to either go for their first apartment in the city or their first house someplace. What I saw, after the pandemic, people were exiting the city. They were leaving and they were going to get first starter apartments either in Westchester or Long Island or somewhere in the vicinity or New Jersey. Now it seems like they're coming back, I think. I don't know if they're going to the downtown area, which was so exciting for young people in Tribeca and Soho and the West Village, or what I see is a million new buildings up on the Upper East Side. Yeah. So is there an overall excitement coming back to the city now? What do you see?
I mean, I think New York City will always be the most exciting place in the world. I don't ever want to leave. But we did see a lot of people go other places during the pandemic, but not everybody can afford to or can move to Florida. And with real estate prices today, it's just so expensive. And my dad's the biggest advocate of this. We always say New York City will become now the #1 place for your second home. Maybe you don't live in New York City, but you're going to have a place there. It used to be London.
Right.
Very wealthy people had a second home in London or something. But now New York City, I mean, yes, I'm not talking for your normal 28-year-old, but internationally will become the #1 second home market, which is great. And I always thought, yes, the West Village and Tribeca, they're the most expensive parts of the city right now. That's where everyone wants to be. And I'm always an Upper East Sider and I'm boring, but it's also the best value. We have, I think,
that's what I
great restaurants, the schools, the museums, and also just convenience factor. Yes, we have the Second Avenue subway now, but like I'm not here a lot of weekends. I like to go to Long Island or somewhere. It's just so easy to get to the Hamptons or leave the city. And what I always tell people, like I have friends like now, let's say I'm 44, friends mid-30s, late 30s, are trying to figure out what to do. Should we buy in the city? Should we do this?
Right.
I always tell a certain age demographic I'm friendly with, rent in the city for now and buy in the Hamptons. Because you're going to start spending a lot more time out of the city, 3 or 4 days a week, maybe. And you can add so much value to a house in the Hamptons. You can do improvements and you'll get to enjoy it so much more in the city. If you're working like all my friends, lawyers, bankers, you're in your apartment like 10 hours a day. And 8 of them you're sleeping, or hopefully 8. You're up there in the morning, you leave, you're like, oh, the view. Unless you're a very, very wealthy person and you're home a lot, maybe the view, who cares? You're not enjoying it so much.
Right. So in other words, what you're saying is you're believing that make this a second residence and go to the country, some suburb
if you can,
primary, if you can. If you're
I mean, I'm a New York City resident and I want to be, and I am. And I think residency, yes, will keep in New York City, most people, but if you're looking to make an investment, buy your first home, I tell a lot of people, maybe don't buy in the city because if you need the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, you're talking, a few $1 million now. And the Hamptons are so big geographically.
Right. You could
You
be
can always find something to buy. And rent and mortgages are very high now. We had a little dip yesterday, but historically they're pretty high for us now over the past 20 years.
I feel like that's also a little older than me. Like that's like when you're
Yeah, that's
looking to
older.
buy your
Like
first home,
married
like
couples, a little different.
exactly. Like
They want to take their little baby to the Hamptons every weekend and play because they're in this little 1,500 square foot apartment during the week, and then they get out to Long Island. Even if you don't have a huge house, you have a yard.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Like I am still renting. A lot of my friends still are renting with roommates.
Most friends your age don't own a home yet.
Exactly. So when
it used to be Murray Hill back in the day,
that was like post grad.
Yeah, like 40th and 2nd.
Right.
And that was great. And now everyone kind of got into the West Village, but
that's
you give up amenities in a lot of these buildings. You don't have elevators. Security's become very, very important. Virtual doorman isn't enough, I think. If I had a daughter in the city, I would want someone in that lobby, and not just one person. You need a real attended lobby where there's a staff, because let's say that guy takes a break, goes to the bathroom. What are you doing?
See, that's why you have a wonderful building, Kim. You have all the amenities.
Yes, I'm in like Nomad area.
Oh, great.
Which I like because it's very central to everything. But you tell me if I'm crazy. When I was first looking, I saw 78 apartments. I like literally made it my job.
You're a realtor's nightmare. Oh God.
Exactly.
But I didn't even use a realtor. I just was looking on Street
We love
Easy.
hearing that. Oh, great.
Sorry.
No, I do tell people. I do tell a lot of early renters, friends of mine. I'm like, you can do this yourself. You can go online. It's so different than like when I started in the business. Our customers know more than we do now. So like, well, the floor below sold for rented out for $300 less a month and blah, blah, blah. Because they're on Streezy and Zillow and all these websites 24/7. And they know so much because they're focused on one specific building or neighborhood. Whereas I try to cover the whole city. So you get to know so much, sometimes more than your broker.
Yeah. That's
like I'll go to a showing.
You mostly do condos now. Do you see that's the trend, or is it still the old time co-ops?
It's a mix.
Possible.
I was on the Upper East Side yesterday, showing fancy co-ops up 25 million. Downtown later today, doing a cool condo in the West Village for just under 10 million.
Right.
It fluctuates. Yes, I love working in condos because once you have a contract signed, you're gonna close the deal usually. There's no board to get involved.
Right. Well, that's the big difference.
Right. Upper East Side. I mean, most of people don't realize most of New York City is cooperative. From buildings built in the 20s up until the 60s, 70s, even 80s, you have cooperative apartments where you do have a board. And those are where the values are. A lot of times, everyone's so intimidated by these Park Avenue buildings or Fifth or wherever on the Upper East Side, but they're letting young people in now. I mean, it changes. They have to. They were so short-sighted.
My old building is young now.
Yeah.
It's all young, and it's actually, I think it's a Douglas Elliman.
Yeah, we're also one of the largest property managers in the city.
I'm going to give you a pitch.
Thank you.
As a renter, would you rather try to rent in a condo, like someone who is renting it out, or like a full rental building?
It depends also what you like. Like, it's so nice to rent in a condo because it's not as let's say transient. There's more people there for a long period of time. A lot of times the rental buildings will have more amenities and you can make a better deal with the landlord, a couple months free, this and this with the tenant. I don't do so many rentals.
Yeah.
I have people on my team trust me, someone calling me. I happens to me all the time. My kid and his friend want to share an apartment. They each want to spend $2,800 a month.
Right.
I'm like, kill me.
Forget it.
But okay, I'll do it.
Right.
And then it's like, we're going to put up a wall here and we're going to do this there. It's hard.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. Because as a realtor, you start learning, you'll spend the same amount of time, let's say on a sale, the $1 million client as a $10 million client. Sometimes a $10 million client's easier because they know what they want. It's not their first home, so they're quicker. So if you can spend the same amount of time, make more money, you try to do it.
Well, I'm sure the same is in Florida too. Because
that's crazy.
At Miami, I just read in the Wall Street Journal this morning, Bezos just bought he's leaving Seattle.
He's announced he's going to become a Florida resident.
Yeah, he's going to become
he bought
we were talking
2
about
houses
this
on
yesterday.
Indian Creek Island.
Yeah. 2. He just bought an adjacent one that he's going to now make. I don't know how many acres he's on.
It's
3
crazy.
acres.
You have people like him and Ken Griffin just gobbling up.
He's gobbling up everybody.
If you're so wealthy,
they're so
at
rich.
a certain point, you have to. You have billions and billions and billions of dollars. You have to put some into real estate. You have to diversify.
Right.
Art, real estate,
Right.
their boats, their planes, you have to start spending this money somehow.
Right. But that's not real. That's not our guys.
It's not real.
Listening to us. It's not real. Those are
No.
truly the one percenters. I don't know very many of those. So
but if you look at Palm Beach Island, like the average single price of a home there is like almost $20 million for what's been sold.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I bought a cottage there for 12 years ago for like nothing relatively now.
Right. And I sold my house there in 2007 for virtually a few $1 million, and now it's worth like 20.
Yeah,
exactly. But it doesn't matter. We weren't, we weren't looking at that. We never thought those prices were ever going to happen.
Yeah, and then Madoff happened, and South Florida, Palm Beach especially, got destroyed.
They got killed. They got killed. That was a
rough
moment
there
to
in
buy.
08 to 10.
That was a moment to buy.
Yeah, that's when I bought around them.
Very smart.
Yeah, I didn't think about it.
That's why you had a team.
I just wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I argue so much with my clients. Like, well, will I make money on this apartment? Let's say I buy it for $3 million, it's gonna be worth $4 million in 5 years. I'm like, what happened to the day where you bought a home in the Hamptons or an apartment in New York because you had to be there and you wanted to be there? Right. Now everyone is so consumed with making money on their home.
Well, because
that's a new thing.
Right.
It's that's a new concept. You didn't always buy your primary residence where you want to raise your family because you were going to make money on it. You were going to live there because you like the schools, you like the commute, you like the restaurants. It's become a very different mind shift in the past, 25 years.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
I wonder
no one thinks about that.
Well, I think young people who have little children who want to be near a school system do still think about it a little. And that's why
no one wants to buy a house and say it's going to be worth less than 10 years.
Right.
But
right. But it's not that. First of all, the people who are just starting out are not spending millions. So they're spending, 400, 500, 600, maybe even 800,000 for a new home.
You want to monetize everything now. Like everything is a side hustle. Everything is an investment opportunity. So it's kind of more like
sort of sad.
Well, I feel like with anything, like even with buying certain bags or certain art pieces, you want to
you buy a Birkin. Oh, it's worth more, but you're going to sell it? Like my mom's like, this Birkin I bought, it's worth it. Or I buy a new Rolex. I'm not in the business of flipping watches, but I mean, you go to sleep at night thinking that. And you go to sleep, this is worth more. It used to be you look at your stock portfolio, you can't look online and see what your house is worth every day. Although people try to do it with Zillow and everything. So it's a more comfortable investment, I would say, for people. It's you live in it also.
Right, exactly, and should enjoy it.
Yeah.
With so many high stakes deals, like what have you learned being in those high pressure situations?
And who do you steer away from? Do you steer away from let's say Europe or Asia at this moment, or is it still very active?
Clients from there? We lost our Russian clients, years ago. We work Douglas Elliman with this great partnership with Knight Frank, the largest real estate broker overseas. So I do get to work with a lot of international clients. And what's changed the market for me in the past, let's say, a year, is just everything takes twice as long. No deal is easy. There's an old, I always say an old proverb about selling real estate is sellers are yellers, buyers are liars, and lawyers are destroyers. And that kind of sums up every deal where I have a seller, why haven't you showed my apartment? I don't get it. I didn't see the ad in the New York Post today. And then buyers like, I'll spend $1 million. And then, I take them something for $2 million. Oh, this is nice. I don't know what I want. They don't know. And then the lawyer gets involved and just, messes it up a lot of times.
Too many parties.
Do you think, thinking of that and the dramatization of all of it, I know you were on a season $1 million listing. Right. That's where I'm getting a lot of my real estate knowledge. How accurate are those shows? And do you think it help or hurt your career?
It's funny. That whole dynamic of reality TV and then shifting into real estate has changed our whole industry completely. You go back, I'm sure 20 years ago, if you were a real estate broker, you were probably like an empty nester. You were not a young person looking to start in this business. The reality TV shows have really proven to allow young people out of college to go right into real estate brokerage. That never happened. It was a fallback profession for a lot of people. It was something you did when you got divorced. These are stereotypes, of course. Or you're an empty nester. It wasn't something that people went to school for. And it was looked down upon. And I think the shows have really pushed, obviously you see how much money you can make, and everyone thinks, I have 10 friends who each want to buy a $10 million apartment. And I interview these people all the time. And I go, no, you don't. They also know 10 other brokers and blah, 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 blah. So the shows have really made it more accessible to everyone. And we do see people come out of college and do it. But you don't have a salary as a real estate broker. You don't usually get health insurance. You have to go into the business thinking you're not going to make any money for 6 months to a year. And you have to start out in rentals because, yeah, then you can get paid a little more, get some income. But the shows obviously sensationalized it all, and it looks so glamorous and fun. And trust me, the shows don't show the closings that get delayed and you're there. I've been working on one deal for a year and it still hasn't closed yet. I mean, there's so many obstacles and headaches, and no deals are the same as the others. And the shows make it look so fun. And I was a fan of the $1 Million Listing. Started off as an LA show, and I was friends with the cast there and spoke to the network. And then they started focusing, maybe doing something in New York. And I applied and I got it. I never told my dad. And I, convinced him to let me do the show. And
he wasn't into it at first.
No, terrible. This is like the worst thing in the world. You crazy? You can go on TV? And I'm like, well, it did wonders for the LA market and these brokers. And then we got this guy, Frederick Eklund, who became one of the biggest real estate brokers in the world, join our firm. And there was a gentleman still on it, Ryan Serhant, and still one of the biggest brokers here in New York. And it was the three of us. And I had to convince my father then that it became an hour-long primetime infomercial for our industry, our clients, our brand, and everything. You can't pay for this type of exposure. And I did it for the first year, got out unscathed. I didn't, obviously they asked me to come back. It was not for me. I just, not that public a person. Exactly. It just wasn't for me. I loved it. It was fun. I don't want to regret things in life. So I did it. And I'm still close with everyone, but yeah, it wasn't something I wanted to commit my life to. And, you have to really do whatever it takes to make in that film business there. Like, they want you to take your shirt off on this scene and say this to that person. I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, my mother's here, like, it's some different person
that we've interviewed have said this on several levels.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of backseat.
No one we talk to who's in reality TV says they 100% are into it.
Exactly.
But some are.
Well, there's no reality. One of my friends would say, the last thing you should do a show about is reality. Like,
because there is no reality on these programs.
But, we always say it's reality TV. It's not live TV. Because like people don't realize, like, oh, of course you're filming it when the guy comes to show it to buy it. Like, yeah, the TV crew's there.
Right.
What about the 80 other showings? It's just you have to take it all with a grain of salt.
Yes.
But it has.
Do you watch it still, or like any of the other ones, like Selling Sunset?
I've never seen any of them. No.
I feel like,
and it's not out of lack of interest. I think also I do that all day. Do I want to come home at night and watch this?
That's what I was gonna say.
Do you want to do a podcast at 8:00 at night after you've worked all day? No.
Exactly. Like, I like watching the morning show now. Do I think? Well, I did read Katie Kirk watched it. Do I want to watch a show about making the news? I don't know. You kind of want to just come home and zone out.
Right. I'm the same and watch Bravo.
Yeah. I mean, I never seen Real Housewives in New York, and I'm friends with them all somehow over the years. I never seen the show, and then during the pandemic, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this, and I watched it, and it was fascinating.
Well, you take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
it was an awful lot of nonsense.
Well, did you? I don't know if you saw even a clip of this, but this season, one of the housewives, they're all new, was like, Tribeca is an up and coming neighborhood, and they were like, "Are you kidding? Are you new to New York? Like,
it's already there.
It's there. It's been there for a long
25 years ago, it was up and coming.
Exactly. What is an up and coming neighborhood, by the way?
It's funny. In Manhattan, there's nothing left.
Right.
I've done it all. They keep saying Midtown East is going to become up and coming now. I guess you would argue Hudson Yards, because that's a brand new neighborhood that we've never seen before. So that was one. Brooklyn's been conquered.
But Brooklyn is jammed now. Brooklyn is over.
Yeah.
But we don't know every neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Do you?
I'm sure there are other parts. Like, you never hear of anyone moving to like Canarsie or Coney Island anymore. You don't hear that because it's not hip.
Yeah. Right.
But also they're just very hard to commute to some places if you have to work in Midtown.
Right.
So I'm sure there are other neighborhoods expanding always.
We went to Jersey City for a shoot. We had to do something over there. That was the first time I was ever there. What they've done there is create a whole city also.
Jersey City, Hoboken. It's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. I always thought it was just the factories and the the awful outlets over there. It's become very, really upscale and very nice. And I'm sure cheaper than Brooklyn is and whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. They develop everything.
Right.
If you could create your dream listing for yourself. So like any neighborhood, any amenities, what would it be?
I
Where would it
dream.
be?
It's so funny because I would never create something I feel like new because I like old because I'm just
Okay.
an old fashioned. So if I had to create from scratch, like a brand new place or a brand new building, what do you mean? Like a neighborhood or
where
a
would
No,
building?
it doesn't even
In a
have to be from
fantasy.
scratch. Like what would be your ideal place to live?
Oh, okay. I mean, I love New York because I love to walk.
Mhm.
That's why I live on 62nd and Park now, and we're probably gonna move uptown, and start a family. But I love to walk to work,
Right.
so I'll have to maybe give that up. So that's one thing. Like Hudson Yards is cool because like it has all these stores, but like it's like a mall. But I don't like a mall. If I want a mall, I move to the suburbs. I want to be outside in the city that's evolved over time in different neighborhoods and sort. It's funny. I always go like back and forth. Like, could I live in Florida full time? And it sounds so great, but maybe not in the summer. I don't think I could
Right.
do it. But I do love being in my car and driving. So I love the suburbs sometimes. It's so
Yeah.
comfortable and cozy. Like just getting in your car, going to the supermarket. So I can never like figure out exactly where I want to be. Yes, if
You're
I lived
still
in New York
young.
City, yeah,
You're
I
still
don't know.
young. You still got a lot in front of you, and you have a
And
husband.
we're gonna try raising kids in the city and living here, but maybe I'll hate it. I didn't grow up in the city.
Mhm.
Maybe
I
I'll
don't
move
think
to
you will hate
Connecticut.
it. I don't
Yeah.
think you will hate it.
I don't want to commute. That's the thing.
That's it.
I don't want to drive an hour every day because I'm a real estate broker, right? I don't have a set schedule. And I like do a lot of last minute showings.
Yeah.
And if I don't have appointments, maybe I'll stay home today. And then you get lazy, and I like being in it all.
Right.
Mhm.
You kind of have to practice what you
You have to
sell
move
or
to the Upper
whatever.
East Side in a duplex.
Exactly.
Does your husband
Yeah.
have the same like real estate preferences as you?
Yeah, we're pretty similar. We're actually just
Mhm.
looking at apartments this afternoon, right before
Oh,
this.
fun.
It's fine. We talk about duplexes because, like, more of a house.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
am I schlepping the toys in the stroller up the stairs? So I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Well, but it depends how it's laid out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. I raised my family on a one floor. It's a lot of
Right.
bedrooms, and it works. Of course, now I'm two people living in the same apartment because I can't
Right.
afford to sell mine. It all goes to the government. What would be the
Yeah.
point? But the truth is, there's still some wonderful apartments on.
No,
the
I
Upper
go
East
into some of these
Side,
apartments in the
on
Upper
the
East
West
Side.
Side.
Yeah, and they're even. I don't know the West Side well. It's funny. It's like one of those markets I don't get to work in much.
Yeah, but
And of
some of
course,
the
we all fell
buildings
in
there
love
are
with it.
fabulous. Some of the
Yeah, we
buildings.
fell in love
there.
with it, Mrs. Maisel and all these shows.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was actually at a new development yesterday on 72nd and Broadway, and you ever go there at night? Amsterdam, Columbus, it's lively.
Yeah.
You go to Madison Avenue at night.
Oh, no,
a
it's
ghost
dead.
town.
No,
It's
Madison
so
Avenue is dead.
you have to go to like Third, and that's still not like exciting.
Yeah,
Right.
that's interesting.
You don't get like that vibe.
And the West
I'm
Side
not a
does.
West Side person, but it's there's a lot of attractive
good
aspects
things.
of it. Yeah, great school. It's there's nothing to complain about up there. It's really nice.
Yeah,
good.
I agree.
All right. Well, we got any other questions for us?
Yeah,
What
I
else you got?
wanted to ask any tips you have for moving in with a significant other, and if you've
Ugh,
ever
so
seen
we
any
did that.
horror stories of like having to break a lease.
No, I haven't seen that yet. I mean, from personal experience, I lived in this apartment. I'm in there right now
Mhm.
for 4 years, and my fiance, then my husband now moved in, and it was like it's scary because like no matter how big an apartment is, it has too many closets. You fill it up,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, and there's no such thing as enough space in New York City,
Mhm.
storage wise. And then he moved in. I'm like, okay, I have to empty out half my closets,
Right.
and it was terrifying, right?
You
You
would
have
have
to.
been. You can't do
I
You have to
can
give out-
barely
you have to
fit
give
my
them
own
half.
stuff.
right.
Yeah, it's a half. So I'm like, okay, we have a guest bedroom. I'm like, well, then why don't you just keep all your stuff in the guest bedroom, and that way you have all that. You have a whole room, make it all your closet, and I'll just stay where I am now here. And then he was like, well,
Didn't like
so
that.
I'm down the hall, you're here, we're like split up. Should we be together? It doesn't, that kind of feels like I'm an outsider. I'm not like invited in. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. You get stuck living somewhere, you don't realize it.
Mhm.
And
Especially
I
when
never
someone's
lived with
moving
anyone
in
before.
with you and you're not
Yeah,
finding a new
exactly.
place together.
That's the whole thing. We in the Hamptons when we met, I had a house in Sag and whatever. And then while we were right before engaged, we moved to a house in Watermill, but we did it together.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's different.
it's so much better when you have to start from scratch when you move in
Right.
with someone.
Mhm.
I think
It's the
Yeah.
only way to do it. Unless you have a gigantic place, because even if you slept there for a day before you met that person, it's still your home now.
Right.
And
That's a
you
good
really have to
tip.
learn how to open
That
it
is
up.
a good tip.
Mhm.
And as a realtor, it's great because that means I'll get to do more deals and more people will be flipping over. And it's living in
is
one place and having
interesting.
someone move in with you, it's really hard.
Yeah. I feel I'd be like, this is your bedroom. This is your
Right.
bathroom.
But I
Don't
ask you
talk to
And the
me.
bathroom, don't get me started on the bathroom.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
bathrooms, forget it. Now, Michael, when somebody, let's say you're living with somebody and
Mhm.
you're taking a new place together, you're not married yet, you're moving in together. Do both of you sign a lease?
yeah.
When you
Usually,
do
well,
that?
if you're not married, you mean you're just
No,
dating.
yeah, right. No,
Just
the
dating.
no, well,
Right.
you're committed to each other, but you're not married. You're not
Right. Yeah. You're
legally
just like
married.
joint tenants, co-tenants.
Exactly.
You do the
So
lease together. Mhm.
take a lease together. Now, let's say you break up.
All right. What happens? That's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's what I was curious about.
Right. You have to figure out if the other person moves out, then obviously you're paying more than one person can afford alone. So you have to figure that out between the two.
And
I don't
who
usually
gets
work
the
in
right
those.
to move out?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Kimberly had a friend that had this situation.
This happens to
What
probably like
happened?
half of my friends,
I mean, I'm
actually.
sure most people move in together too soon. I probably moved in with my fiance too late. And I wanted to propose. I had a whole schedule, and then we weren't moved in. And then, like, it was very funny, like, because there were like times where, like, okay, his stuff's here, but he's maybe downtown. He lived in Chelsea, so we tried to figure it out. And I should push to do it a little quicker. But yeah, I'm
sometimes
sure
when
most
you do
people
it
move
quicker,
into
you end up
apartments
in
too
a
soon.
situation.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting though, because who's who gets to stay?
Who gets it? Right. And then can that person afford the lease on their own? Only
Yes,
one
they can
income.
all afford the leases.
No, I don't think
Right.
so.
Oh, no? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I think the best part, like a lot of my friends who are couples, they're like, now we could look for more expensive apartments since it's going to be both
Right.
of us
If you
together.
get a husband, you get boyfriend, girlfriend, right? You double your budget. in theory,
Exactly.
you know?
But then when you break up, you're stuck with the budget you can afford. I think,
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of situations where I don't think you can ask somebody to pay if you're going to ask them to like move out of the apartment.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it
know.
really depends on the couple, or you are just try to break the lease or something.
I don't know. I don't know if
Right,
that's
you really
grounds for
gotta-
breaking a lease.
What everyone should do is like go live in like a hotel room for a night and see how that goes, or something like that, or a
Test
week
it out.
somewhere.
Test it out.
Because it's an expensive mistake to make, and it's hard.
Right.
I mean, and also just schedule wise, like my husband wakes up before me, but we have a dog, and who does the morning walk, the night walk?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
tricky in New York
It's a
City.
commitment.
Yeah. I mean, my
Yeah.
friends still have sleepovers with their significant others every single night, whether it's at theirs or
Then they have
their.
to pack a bag, and then
They
when you give
pack
them
a
one
bag.
drawer,
Exactly.
crazy.
And they're like, oh, I wish I had this dress to wear, but it's at my boyfriend's house.
at
And
your
it's
house?
like,
Oh,
at that
God.
point, you should be living together
Yeah,
probably.
well, that's
but
what he said.
Right.
yeah, but then also at the same time, it's like that could be a month into a relationship and no one's going
And
to
then I'm
move
sure
in.
he's probably thrilled when he gets that night alone and he can sit on the sofa eating pizza, watching a game, have his friends over. It's like a little vacation. I mean,
Yeah.
really love
All
it.
right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You
It's
need a little bit
tricky.
of alone time. Like,
All right,
Yeah.
well, Mike is
Everyone
not-
does.
He doesn't have to worry about this.
Yes.
He's set now.
Yeah.
Um,
Now I don't have a choice. Right.
okay, I want to end the episode with a game we play with all of our guests. It's
Ooh,
Grandma
fun.
Gail's old-fashioned dating quiz. So we're going to go through some hypotheticals and deem whether you're more of a old-fashioned dater or more of a modern.
Was an old fashioned.
Was. Yeah.
yes, hypothetical questions. Okay. If your partner is calling you just to say hi, would you rather it be a call or a text?
So yes, we get into these fights because I'm a texter. I hate talking on the phone
Okay.
Okay, so
because I'm
modern.
just busy
So
during the
modern.
day. I'm not, texting. I could do on my iPad, my phone. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
a
Okay.
texter.
Even in the beginning stages of dating.
Yeah. Well, because like
Okay.
who could talk on the
Okay.
phone during the day? He's
Yeah,
at his
it's-
office. I'm at mine.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
Would you sleep with someone on the first date?
No, not if not if I thought it was going to go somewhere.
Yeah, if
try
you
to
want
do
a
it. Of course not.
relationship, then no.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never do it.
Okay.
Dating apps or setups?
I used all the apps, went on a few dates, and that's like another full-time job. You log on.
Totally.
My husband, we were set up. I wasn't looking for. I never got set up before, and we're happily married now.
So you have to be team setup.
Right.
Yeah.
I
never
Okay.
asked to be set up. This was volunteered.
Yeah. I also think there's no shame in asking to be set up. I do it
Yeah.
every single day. Anyway, Michael, if you know anyone for
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
Who's going everyone's gonna hear you ask
Who has a
Michael.
3-bedroom apartment with
Yeah,
extra closets?
exactly. Overlooking the park. Okay.
Sorry.
Would you move in together before getting engaged or wait until you're engaged?
Right. We waited till we were engaged,
Oh, okay.
which was interesting. But like the timing was like the same week. It was a slow process. but we were committed to it. So like we were just trying to
you
figure
knew
it
it was
out.
happening.
And the timing with the lease, I'm like, I'm not going to wait to propose till I know his lease ends. So it works out,
Yeah.
Oh, you sound like
you're any
So much
landlord in New
planning.
York today is happy to let you out of your lease early because they can always lease it out for more. So
Right.
that's what we did.
And who should pay for the date? Should you alternate with your partner, or should it be one person in the relationship?
No, I think you should alternate.
Okay.
But it's different. I'm a, gay male, so it's two guys. It's just a different
rules.
culture, different, not rules. Yeah, just there are no rules, really.
There are no rules anymore.
True.
You learned that.
True. You're pretty split, but I think it was
I think it's a
3-2.
Yeah. A little more traditional.
Am I
A little more
traditional?
traditional.
A little more traditional. You're on my
I'm
side.
a traditional gay man, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You're on the traditional side, siding with Grandma Gail.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Tell everyone how they can find you, follow you, your team, everything.
Yes. Yeah, we're always at Elliman.com, or you can always find me on Instagram's always good, Michael Lorber, and I'm always around.
Thank you guys for listening to the episode with Michael Lorber. We had so much fun chatting with him.
He's such a good guy, and he deserves all the success that he's having at Douglas Elliman, and we wish him well.
Okay, another great episode of Excuse My Grandma. You know where to follow us on TikTok and Instagram, or Excuse My Grandma. Check out our clips from this podcast on there as well, where you can actually see us talking. We will see you next week.
Bye.